Astrology, the natal chart, basically what you need to know about how to figure out what your ideal relationship is, what your ideal needs are in relationship based on your astrology. I want to fix our mic here. If you are just jumping on, let me know you're here. So I know that we're all good and we're set and we're going. I'm checking to make sure our sound is all good. Um, so as I always do at the beginning of the video, and we're going to do some sample charts today. So um, stay tuned. Yes, we are all good. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this beautiful Wednesday. If you're catching the live, if you're watching the replay, don't be upset about that. It's okay. It's just as good when we're not live. And also, if you want to get my live notifications, but you haven't been or you have trouble, keeping up with my schedule or something, I do have a Telegram chat group now where I will chat a text message every time I go live, so you never miss a live notification again. There is a link in the description for that if you want to get in on that. And we are here. I am live on Wednesday morning, 10:30 in the morning. This is how much I love you guys. I wanted to do a morning one because I know some of you who are over, especially on the Persian Gulf, or those of you in England or the other side of the water there, those Friday night lives are hard to get to. For any of you wondering when we're going to do the next live readings, that will be this Friday at 6:30 p.m. What we're doing today is we're talking about the natal chart in terms of relationships and love and where to find your ideal love needs based on astrology. So that's what we're up to on this video. So if you are tuning in right now, drop it in the chat box how your Wednesday is going. Drop in the chat box whether you relate to your astrology when it comes to love. Do you relate to your Venus, to your Mars? I found that, we can relate to our Venus and our Mars, but it doesn't always tell the whole story as much as the signs on our fifth and our seventh house, especially in terms of what we need in partnership. And if we just try to make a partner or meet a partner based on like our sun, okay, friends, do not let friends do compatibility based on sun sign astrology. You cannot. Okay, it is impossible to know whether you're compatible with someone based on their freaking sun sign. Oh my gosh. And those of you who are like, but that's all I know, I haven't moved beyond that. This is your sign that you are ready to move beyond just what is their sun sign. Because sun sign, whether it's compatible or not, it matters. But with relationships, there's so many other things that can supersede that. So you can have sun signs that don't meet up at all, that don't match, but your Venus and Mars are square, and that aspect is fire, right? Your sun signs could be, totally opposite. Opposite suns, actually, sun opposite sun, especially if it's by degree, that's actually one of the best aspects in synastry. So this is just an example of how you really can't oversimplify compatibility when it comes to astrology. You really do need to look at everything. Curtis saying rising is more important. I do think rising is important because this is how you see the world. I don't think that if rising are like square that you can't date, or that like I would say yes, rising is more important because like if you're both have the same element on your rising, that's going to be like you really understand at a deeper level how the person sees the world, right? So let's say one's a Leo rising and one's a Scorpio. The Leo rising wants to be seen. They see everything in terms of like what the world sees. And then the Scorpio rising just wants privacy. And so those two would have to work a lot harder to understand each other's needs because they're opposite. But yes, rising is important. And with synastry, we have to look at the whole story. We have to look at everything put together, because you could have a couple aspects in synastry that are bad or that aren't good or that are incompatible, but you have a bunch of other things that are compatible. So it's more like a point system where, like, if your Venus and Mars are square, you get a point. If your sun is opposite sun, and then for the really, really strong ones, maybe you get 3 points. And the more points you have, the more compatible you are. And the more, negative aspects you have, maybe you lose a few points. So you can lose points from your sun not being compatible, but you get a whole bunch of points from your moons being compatible, or your Venus and your moon, or having planets on the person's nodes. So it's really good not to, if you're like new to astrology and you're trying to find a partner and you don't know who your partner is, you really, really don't want to like not date someone because you think their sun sign is incompatible. Okay. Okay. If you want a simple book for like, sex and astrology, there's a book called Sextrology that's good because it's based on the sun sign and it gives you the simple information. It tells you a lot for each sun sign, but I think anything that is just factoring the sun, it's missing something. So, hey to everyone just jumping on. I kind of want to just say hello to those people in the chat. Aubrey says, "Ooh, fun topic." And yeah, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how to know what your ideal needs are in love. And this is where you need to start. If you want to find a partner based on your astrology, yeah, it's a fun read, but I feel like it's oversimplified just because I'm sorry, every Taurus sun man is not the same. I can't. Some of it I think is a little oversimplified, but some of it's super accurate. So it's one of those things. Very well written, fun to read book. And it goes into details too. So there's that. Okay, so when you are like, okay, I want to meet a partner based on my astrology, I want to understand this better. This is where we often start is we think, oh, are we compatible? Is my sun compatible with their sun? Is my Mars compatible with their Mars? But I think when we do this, we're kind of missing out because in order to really, really find a good partner, we got to know what we need. And even though our sun and our moon and our Mars, they all do tell about compatibility, there's still a lot more of the story that can be seen by the signs on our 5th and our 7th house. This is where you want to start because I think the 5th house is going to tell us what we're like in dating, what we need in dating. And the 7th house is going to tell us what we need in partners. And these houses together are going to tell us what we need in relationships, what we need in love, what we need combined. And then the 8th house is going to tell us what it takes for us to get really close to someone and have that deeper level of intimacy. Our rising is going to tell us how we approach the world, our viewpoints, and we can look at love through that lens of like how we're going to meet in the world, like how we're going to show up, how we're going to meet people, what we need. We can look at every single placement in our chart about what we need. Sun is what we need in general. Moon, what our emotional needs are. Mars, our sexual drive and passion. And that can be a deal breaker for some people because some Mars signs need more sex than others. Some Mars signs are more shy than others. Some Mars signs won't make a freaking move. Taurus and Virgo. Some Mars signs are going to be super, super direct, like Mars and Aries, but they might not last. They might not have the stamina. And then Venus, Venus, okay, so I have a theory. Okay, I don't want to say that. Some of these placements are stronger for some people than others. Okay, so that's an important thing to know. So I'm just going to use myself as an example because this is something I know is true about myself. I have Venus and Sagittarius in the 3rd house, meaning that You know, I can easily really love, it's like a love language to hear people speak spiritual wisdom. So I love this, right? Like I'll be listening to YouTube videos, and like if a guy is like talking about myths, I'm just like it makes me swoon. But do I need that in love? No. I like it, but I don't need my partner to be telling me spiritual stories. So, this is an example of how some of the needs in our chart, we really need them in a relationship, and some of them we can get elsewhere. And sometimes there are contradictions in the chart where we can't get both needs met. Like we have a contradiction within ourselves where we want privacy, but we want closeness. And we have to figure out how to reconcile this, how to really work with our own needs to begin with, because no partner can give us both of those things. And so sometimes we really do have to do like the inner work on ourselves. And then other times it's about knowing which needs we're going to want more, are more pressing for a relationship, and which needs are less pressing. And that's going to depend on everything. You know, do you have a Mars sign that needs more sex? You know, um, or less. And either way, you know, if you're a Mars sign that needs a ton of sex, well, you probably are not going to be with another Mars sign that doesn't need it at all, because that's probably not going to work, right? And so some of that, again, some of that can be met outside the relationship, some of that can be worked with. But we oftentimes we think of relationships as like a set menu, you know, where it's like I want to order this one, you know, with the lettuce and the cheese and the extra whatever. This is this is going to get weird, so I'm not going to make it into a sandwich, but we kind of think of love like that. Like we want this person who has these qualities, we want to order them, we want them to be this tall, have this color hair, you know, talk to us in this way. But it's like we as people, we are fluid and dynamic and always changing and always learning and always growing. And we don't always need, like, you can go without the lettuce. Sometimes you can go without the lettuce. And what I mean by that, is this even making sense, or is this crazy? What I mean by that is like it's up to you in your chart to figure out what's the lettuce. What is the part that you think you need, but you can totally go without? And what's the part that like your soul and your spirit are just like that's the real need, okay? So that's another thing, is to go beyond some of the superficial needs and go to the deeper need. Sometimes, again, you can get a need met outside of a relationship. Sometimes you find that, you know, your partner has a need you can't meet. And it's like, you know, what are we going to do? Are we going to break up? Or are we going to stay together and try to work it out? Um, all right. So you guys seem to really like the Mars conversation. Yeah, I think that, Curtis, I think there is something to that, like men lasting longer based on their Mars. There are Mars signs that tend to have more stamina. There are Mars signs that tend to not. I mean, for example, Mars in Aries is not going to have a lot of stamina. But when that Mars progresses into Taurus, then at that age, they will probably have more stamina. So, like, if you have a late degree Mars in Aries, then that's better for you as a guy, because then that progressed Mars is going to happen when you're young. So, good for you. I think Mars roughly moves through the signs. I don't even know. It doesn't move fast, okay? So this is like maybe in your 30s. Aubrey, lettuce is not a deal breaker. Hold on. Okay, so I'm going back to some of these messages now. Welcome to everyone jumping on. Curtis is saying, I'm learning more. What are the main things? Yeah, 5th, 7th, Sun, Moon, Mars, Venus. You can look at Juno as well. You can look at every single placement, but those are main ones. 8th house also is intimacy. That one's important. You can even look at the 7th house for what the person values. Queen of Wands, awesome. Glad you're here. Black Sun Priestess, my Mars in Aquarius, I like a really good mind. Yep. People with Aquarius like Venus or Mars in Aquarius, Gemini, people with them in the third house, definitely, it's like stimulate my mind and you can have everything else you want. It's like just how loving your mind, having conversations, being able to connect on a mental level is super, super important. Okay, we're gonna talk more about the houses. So I'm gonna actually pull up, I'm just gonna do the chart of the transits for this, and we're going to look at the chart to see how you look at and I'm going to put it on whole sign just so we can see it more easily, how you read a chart for a relationship. So we're going to do this as if this is a person who's born right now, and it's really just the transits for today. So they're a Libra rising. So we can look at that rising sign for the needs. That's true. Rue Holistics, Mars and Virgo are freaks, but they're like closet freaks. So Venus, okay, so the ascendant, this is going to show you what they need in general. Libra rising needs partnership. They're going to be more compromising generally. They're also going to be more worried about balance because Libra risings need everything to be balanced. That everything has to be equal, which means Libra risings have more of a tendency to get into relationships that are more transactional or to see relationships in a transactional way. I do this for you, you do this for me. So then we're going to go to their fifth house, it has Aquarius. So Aquarius on that fifth house means when dating or in relationships, they're going to be different. They're going to want people who are different from them. Wherever we have Aquarius, it's a little bit different. We want people who are different from us. We want people who think a certain way. So Libra rising, whatever your rising sign is, that element is super important in relationships because it's also the sign on the cusp of your fifth house. I actually have videos I'm making on each rising sign. So if you guys like this, be sure to subscribe so that you get the notification when those ones come out. It's going to talk about each rising sign in love and what it means. So then we look to where is Uranus. Uranus is in Taurus, squaring Saturn. So this person is going to have issues. This person with that Uranus in the 8th house, it's like sudden changes in intimacy. So it's like an on-off switch, definitely in relationships. We see this also if someone has Venus and Uranus in connection as well. So that's another thing to know. Venus in connection with any of your relationship stuff, or sorry, Uranus in connection with your relationship stuff will make you more impulsive. It does make it like an on-off switch where when you know when it starts and you know when it ends. So this can be sudden changes to intimacy, sudden, it doesn't even have to be bad. It could just be the way this person loves is that with Saturn in that 5th house, they're really, really discerning when they're dating. And then once they reach a certain level, it's like, bam, now the intimacy happens. That's probably what that would be like for this person. Now we would look to the sign on their 7th house, Aries, meaning Libras, when it comes to love, is they need someone who will take charge. Why? Because they, in general, Libras are not going to do it. So they need someone else to. If it's the other way, Aries have Libra on their descendant. Aries risings are going to want someone who is more of the supportive partner who will like bend to them. Does not mean as a Libra you can't have your own life, or Aries that you have to only be selfish. So like, let's move away from these harsh stereotypes. When you hear people say this means you're supposed to be single forever in astrology, just don't listen to that because that's immature astrology. Okay, so then Mars is on this person's 7th house and it's in the 8th house. This person's going to be very sexual, okay? This person's going to have a lot of sexual desire and that impulsiveness. This is someone who's probably going to get around or just, have some anger issues. Because Mars Uranus is explosive anger. Now, the conjunction's 10 degrees, so it's not going to be as bad. And it's in Taurus, which means maybe the only people who see that will be their intimate partners. But having Mars in that eighth house, any of y'all got Mars in your eighth house, this is a very sexual placement. Okay, you need sex. And that's just how it is. There are some people who just really need it. And there are some people who don't need it as much. And so this is another thing that you just got to know. Like you got to know this about yourself. Okay. Do you guys want to do some sample charts? I was kind of hoping to. I don't really want to do my own for this. I've already done my own personal stuff enough that I'm like, you guys don't also need to know about my sexuality. Thank you. I mean, I love you guys, but I do have all my planets below the horizon, so I don't want people up in my business all the time. Mad Love says yes. So if you guys want, we can just do some sample charts. You guys can drop your info and, you know, whoever I see first. But here's the thing, if you're going to be a sample chart on my live, you got to give tons of feedback. You cannot just be like, that resonates. You got to tell us why. So you got to be open enough and willing to tell us why it resonates, give examples from your life of why it resonates, and like work with me so people can see it, like, so they're learning about how to read the chart and stuff too. So I'm going to give it a second for those responses to come through here. And we'll do some samples. Also, oh, I do have I have a reading for this, you guys. I made this video for this that you guys can book with me. It's an ideal love profile video. It's a 10-minute video on what your needs are based on your chart. I just do as much as I can on your 5th and 7th house in that 10-minute video. So there is a link in the description. I highly recommend it. It's so good. These are so freaking good. Okay. Let's see who went first. Let's do Rue Holistics. So I see you dropped your date of birth. Tell me, do you have your time? So yeah, we're going to start with Rue Holistics. Oh yeah, you did. You dropped the whole thing. So we'll do that. And then it doesn't let me just select the text. Lame. Okay. So I just have to freaking put it in here. Hold on. Everyone else, you guys, I see those of you who have commented, so I'll go back to those for the next one. Also, do not give other people readings in the chat. I will block you at this point because that's, first of all, it's rude. Like, hello, it's rude. Also, no one's asking you. Like, if you want to give free readings, you do it on your own thing. Don't come here and give people free readings. It's weird. It's super weird. It like interrupts me. I'm just adding you, Ruholistic. Pakistan. Okay. So I'm going to pull up the chart. And then we'll just do a little bit of your ideal love stuff. Oh, thanks, Chris. Let's make sure I got your time. I saw that comment after I said drop your time. Okay. Okay, so realistic, I'm going to pull up your chart and we're going to do this sample. For anyone just jumping on, we're doing a sample chart of ideal love profile, ideal love needs using astrology. This is a video I offer. There is a link in the description. If you want to book one, they're awesome. You guys should all do it. It's amazing. So we'll see. And I'm trying to share the screen. Okay, so this is the chart. Yes. All right. So going to first and foremost, I'm starting with that rising sign. So someone with Sag rising is going to, okay, I hope I'm not calling you out realistic, but let us know if it resonates. And for those of you signing up, you kind of got to be an open book for those ones because this we're going to talk about sex. Sag risings get around usually because that desire to explore, this is how they meet the world, is they want to explore it, and that applies to the sexuality. So usually there is at least some experimentation of, getting some experience and wanting to date and wanting to flirt. Sag risings can be total flirts. And it comes from that Jupiterian desire for more and expansion, which is how Sag rising live their life, is they want to go on a new adventure. Well, that does also translate into dating and sexuality. One of the reasons is, look, you guys, whatever sign you have on your ascendant, your fifth house is going to have that same element. So a fire rising is going to have fire on their fifth house, aka their dating life is about passion. It's about adventure. It's about, with Aries being direct and going first. So usually your Sag rising ones who will make the first move, or they'll at least put themselves out there. And they will at least put themselves around someone. So I'm thinking, this probably plays out differently for men and women. It's going to play out differently depending on how you're raised, right? So if you're raised to be a proper, nice girl and you have this, well, you may have to be a little more subtle about how you put yourself out there. But often Sag risings are going to be chatty. They're going to go flirt. Having Jupiter in Aquarius in Aries intensifies this, where it's like in that fifth house, definitely curious, wanting to learn about sexuality. There's other things the fifth house represents, but when we're looking for sexuality, we're going to look at that fifth house of, this is like the dating and the romance side. This is like who you go out with. So you may find with Jupiter in the fifth also, you could find you're attracted to people who are foreigners, who speak a different language, who love philosophy, who have Jupiter type qualities, teachers, gurus. With it being in Aries, this could be like a yoga teacher, or someone who does martial arts, that Aries energy of physical movement, and that blended with that Jupiter energy of teaching. Let us know, Ruholistics, how this is resonating. So, it's that curiosity, that desire to experience things. With Mars ruling that fifth house and Mars being in the ninth house, this brings in, blends in the topics of the meaning of life right along with sexuality, dating, and romance. So this could be you meet someone at a event that you're learning something. You meet someone in class. You go to college and you meet another professor. With ninth house placements, whatever that ninth house theme in your life is, which is either going to be probably travel or study, whatever that thing is, that's probably going to be how you're more comfortable meeting someone to date, or where you're more likely to meet someone to date. And then, we can even look at aspects to this Mars, which we don't have any super strong ones, but it does make an out of sign based trine to Jupiter, really bringing in the ability, again, to meet people abroad as a strong theme here. 100%. Okay, tell us a little bit more about why it's 100%. Meeting people abroad, meeting people who share the same philosophy, Really, really strong with philosophy and relationships. Now, with Gemini on that seventh house cusp, all Sag risings are going to have this, where their ideal partner is going to have some Gemini element to them. Maybe they're writers. Maybe they like to study. Maybe they are people who are speaking on stage. Sometimes it can just be something that literal. Other times, maybe wherever you have Gemini, you got to get a lot of experience. So you might do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, date someone this way and date someone that way. Sag risings of all my rising signs are most likely to have and where they have totally different partners, where they have like partners on one extreme or the other. Okay, so Ruholistics, the way I do these readings when I'm doing a live like this is I tell you what I see and you respond to what I see. So I need you to respond to what I've been saying and let us know if that resonates, or we will move on to somebody else. And just so everyone else knows, if you get picked to go on your turn, this is not where you tell us what you think your astrology means. This is where I'm demonstrating to people based on your chart what I see, and you guys are responding. Yes, okay. Tell us a little bit more. Another thing we can notice here is that because of the Saturn here on the ascendant, this can temper. So if you have Saturn on your ascendant, if you have it even with your sun, with your moon, or in your fifth or seventh house or eighth house, this can bring a more reserved, cautious energy. So it's like immediately we have a slight contradiction here for Ruholistics, where there's this desire to meet new people and explore, but also there might be maybe slowly explore, or maybe ways that Saturn kind of inhibits that a bit. Okay, so Ruholistics saying the fire elements and the kind of partner you mentioned. And then Curtis is how funny Sun Gemini dated a Sagittario. Yes, okay. And you could even see how whether your Gemini sun and their Sagittarius sun were exact by degree, because that's a really, really good aspect in synastry. Ruholistics, I feel like approaching first, but hold back. Okay, yeah, so that's that Saturn influence. The good thing about the Saturn, though, is that it gets better with age. So you may find that you're good at starting the conversation. That's an Aries problem, is you can start it, but then you can't keep it going. And that Mars in Virgo will definitely have you. And this is an example of why you guys all need actual readings, because just based on Sagittarius, Ruholistics is like, well, I should be initiating love and I should be confident. But that Mars in Virgo is going to be like, nope, we don't know. We don't know if they're going to like us. We cannot make a move. Mars in Virgo, it's the hardest for making a move, because Mars wants to do something, but it needs to feel like it has a guarantee that it's going to work out before it will do anything. And that's really hard. That's hard. Mars in Virgo is hard for that. Now, having Venus and the Sun in Virgo bring in even more of that feminine receptive energy that kind of contradicts that rising. So immediately we see here, having basically Sun in a sign that is square the rising brings this contradiction with how you approach the world in general. With Mars involved and Venus involved, this is going to be inhibition in relationships. It's going to be perfectionism, Venus. It's going to be overthinking, Mercury. It's going to be humility, Sun. And it's going to be waiting for them to come to you. So, while on one hand, you may need the adventure, the excitement, you may not find that it's easy for you to stimulate that. Yeah, okay. And then I take risks in relationship. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, well, and Curtis, that doesn't mean too, you guys, like every Sagittarius is going to have lots of partners. It really depends. Like I said, where is Saturn in their chart? Sagittarius without Saturn in their chart probably will have more partners. One with Saturn as a strong influence, that might really totally block. Pluto also blocks, so we have to look at that too. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next sample chart. Thank you, Ruholistics, for being a volunteer. Let's go ahead. I know you guys have like dropped your info, but I just want to ask again to make sure that whoever does is someone who's on the chat right now. So go ahead, you guys, and drop your info if you want me to do your chart on your ideal love situation, like what you need. And I'm just going to chill while I'm waiting for some of those chats to come in. I do have little mini videos on this. You guys can book with me. These are 10-minute pre-recorded videos, and they are awesome. Okay, let's see. Let's do Brandon. Brandon Page. But we'll do you. What time? Do you have a birth time? Cool. So we're going to do Brandon. Okay, so just a reminder, I'm going to tell you everything I can tell you about your ideal love situation. And your job is to say yes or no if it resonates, and tell us as much as you can about how, so we can really get some stories to kind of share with the audience. Okay, so make sure, Brandon, glance there and just make sure I got your birth info right. And let me know if it's off. And we're going to start. I'm honestly drawn to all these planets up here, making Brandon more of a social butterfly, and is in his life connecting with people in groups, you know, friends and stuff, and then privacy. Those are going to be huge. Career, friends, privacy, huge, huge, huge life themes. Capricorn on the ascendant really gives you more of a realistic viewpoint in love, partly because of that Capricorn, partly because that Taurus. Okay, so normally Taurus would rule the fourth house, but for Brandon we have Gemini, so this is interesting. So immediately, even though, you know, he's definitely, Brandon, you are a Capricorn in your heart of hearts, because you have your ascendant as Capricorn, but then you also have your Sun conjunct Saturn in Scorpio. Wow. Very intense energies here. So you're naturally going to see love as something that needs to be practical. Oftentimes Capricorns, you know, they might, you know, it's down to earth, right? So it has to make sense to you. Can't really get away in the way of your goals too much. Oftentimes Capricorn with Cancer on that seventh house are going to attract partners who take care of them emotionally, or who make them dinner and stuff. With Gemini on the fifth house, you need a partner who communicates with you. With Chiron and Gemini, this will be hard. This will be a challenge in relationships of communication because that fear of saying the wrong thing that Chiron and Gemini has, that's going to be expressed in dating. So it's like this can make you, you have to really work hard to like make a move and stuff just because it's maybe you had experiences when you were younger where you did that and you were embarrassed. Let us know if that happened. You guys like this? Is this fun? Okay, so we're gonna see what Brandon says to that, and then we're gonna look where's Mercury in the chart. Mercury in that 11th house of friends. So dating and relationships serve the agenda of groups of people and friendships. So this probably means that when you meet someone, you meet their friends. And then their friends become your friends become their friends. But usually it's like it's usually not with this placement like you meet your friends and then you date them. Usually it's the other way around where you when you're dating someone, then the friends come together. Yeah, okay. So I feel like the shyness, now let us know if this relates to here. That shyness is in your fifth house, not your seventh house, which makes me feel like it's the new phase of the relationship, the first dates, right? Getting from whatever you are when you're flirting, right, to the first date, that part, and then the first few dates part. That could be hard. And if it is hard, you may find that doing group dates might be easier for you. Doing like what is it called? Double dates or whatever. And then with your seventh house, now this is where we look for like the long-term relationships, which means you need someone nurturing and kind who'll be nice to you. You know, you need someone who, again, with Cancer here, I always say like you need someone who'll make you dinner, who will want to take care of your needs. And that seventh ruler in the sixth house, this can have a few different meanings. But one way it can show up is you could actually literally date a nurse with this placement, or like people who are like that, right? Because that sixth house is the house of health. So you could find that your partner is someone who works in the field related to health or healing or nursing or preschool teacher, anything cancer like. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, well, this is also, it's something you can work through. And with all these planets up here, totally see you as capable of managing that. And anyone with Chiron and Gemini, it's not about. Okay, so the way to work through Chiron and Gemini is to figure out how you are blocking it, right? To be able to see, okay, I feel this way because I got shut down a lot. And then to not just try to force it, but to bring like a higher level of awareness to it to see how you stop yourself when you are like trying to flirt or go on a first date, and then kind of move through that with the most amount of compassion you can have. Yeah, and it opposes Mercury Uranus. So that's definitely a wound. Uranus Chiron 2 opposition like this, that's going to be where you can't get away from it. So if you were if you were like going through a phase where you're like, okay, I'm just not going to talk to women, or I'm not going to date, it's like something will happen to trigger it anyway. So you can't get away from that wound. You can't, and I hate saying that because it sounds like a threat. But it's more like Uranus is like a flashlight that's going to continue to illuminate that Chiron and Gemini in the fifth house challenge. And so it's up to you whether you want to face it or not. But other people can get away with not facing their Chiron. If you have it opposite Uranus, you're like me and you can't get away with it. But then with Mercury opposite here, this just brings more of this tension between what you say when you're flirting and dating and you're on dates versus what you say when you're out in public with people. Now, the out in public with people feels easier, but Mercury Uranus by itself too, this could be someone who has this tension around communication and then they blurt something out. So have you ever, when you got shut down a lot, was it also like, was there ever times when you were young where you would like say the totally wrong thing? You'd be nervous around someone and you'd like say something totally you're not supposed to say because of just like this tension and this feeling like, oh my God, I got to say something right now. Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. So having best friends you've met through girlfriends, yep, yep. And that's, I mean, that's a natal promise in your chart is to meet friends through who you date. So if nothing else, you get good friends out of the deal. Can't cook to save your life. Okay, so then we go to the moon, being that ruler of the seventh house, and we're going to look at the aspects here. And the sixth, the closest by degree is this damn Mercury. We also have Pluto in the mix. Jupiter here, opposite. So we're just going to go with Mercury. Mercury quincunxing the moon in the sixth. This adds to more of the tension, the awkwardness, right? It feels awkward to communicate in relationships. And with the moon in Cancer, people with Cancer moons put the things that are most important to them, especially if it's family or relationships, above everything else. So this could be a thing where it's like, first of all, your Capricorn rising and your Cancer moon are opposite each other. You have Jupiter here adding to that opposition. And so that brings a theme in relationships in life of the challenge between meeting goals and meeting the emotional needs. And it's almost like it just makes you even more of a person with Cancer moons. You will not ever, ever, ever do anything that puts your family in jeopardy. You would never take a job that your family would suffer from if your family is the most important thing. If your relationship is the most important thing, then you fill it in that blank. If not, whatever is your baby. Now, in some cases, for people with Cancer placements, their business is their baby or their job is their baby. In that case, you won't get a relationship that sacrifices your job. So it just depends on what your biggest priority is. Oftentimes, though, with Cancer moon, it's going to be your friendships. So it might be that case where it's like if your partner doesn't get along with your friends, they're not going to stay your partner very long. And then with Jupiter in that 12th, this does bring this sort of almost life challenge, though, of like the difference between time out and being busy all the time. Okay, yeah, you would totally blab. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's a Mercury Uranus problem, guys, when you sort of just blurt things out. And it's almost like you have this mental tension that it feels like anything with Uranus, it's like the pressure builds and builds and builds until there's a release. And so Uranus Mercury is oh my God, I have to say this, I have to say this, I have to say this, and finally you say it. And it's like no one else wanted you to say that necessarily. It's just the Mercury Uranus person has this internal feeling where it's just like blah. And Mercury and Sag will ramble. I have this one. Definitely we ramble. We are chatterboxes, but oftentimes it's like a flowing story that isn't necessarily linear. Okay, we'll do a little bit more on Brandon, and I think we'll do one more person today, guys. And for anyone who's like, oh, you wish you got a reading, these little mini readings I do, they're like $37, and it's an ideal love profile. It's 10 minutes of me doing this for you, of looking at your chart and seeing your biggest need in relationship. So, we can also look, Brandon, at just your Venus and Mars really quickly. Mars in Capricorn. This really emphasizes that need to reach goals, the need to feel like you are going somewhere. And, Mars in Capricorn tends to be more physically focused. So it really does make you, you know, especially with Cancer on that seventh, more of a family person, more of someone who's going to be in a relationship where it's like, what are we doing today? What park are we going to? What barbecue are we hosting? You know, what are we doing after work? How are we going to do dinner? You know, where it's like the experience of relationship is more on that physical level. Sometimes Capricorn Mars really they okay, so you can tell us if you don't want to say, you don't have to. But I think Mars and Capricorn, of all the guys Mars signs, Mars and Capricorn might have more of a desire to make sure they're like the best in bed, you know, like where you just want to be the best. And it's not necessarily, yeah, it's just that desire to be the best is probably going to show up in that area as well as others. Ambitious, you could say. And then where's your Venus in Sag? So Venus in Sag, you know, you're gonna want women who are gonna like, sometimes you'll attract foreigners or people from different places, people who've traveled. They're gonna have stories. You could date Sagittarius women. They might, there's like with I think of Venus and Sag as like someone who wants to be told certain things, like what your partner says to you matters a lot, especially with that Chiron in Gemini. You know, it's like you want a partner who is gonna say really nice things to you, um, tell you things that are like have sweet, beautiful words. Um, that's part of what I think for Venus and Sag. Oh, good. I'm glad realistic that was helpful. So let's see what Brandon says to that. We're going to stop there for Brandon's chart, and we'll do a shorter one. So we'll do one last person. You guys can drop your info below again if you want to be that person. Thank you, Brandon, for participating, and thank you also, Ruholistics. I don't remember if I said that earlier. Oh, man. Is that a yes? You don't have to answer. I can't actually tell what that emoji is. All right. Um, Hey to everyone just jumping on. We did talk quite a bit in the beginning of this live on the different places in the chart you can find your relationship needs. So if you're just jumping on, make sure you go back and watch that later. Who else? Who am I gonna pick? Okay, let's do Cherry Berry. I already see you dropped your info here, so I'm just gonna put it in. Make sure when I show the screen that it's right, that I put it in right. I try to do that, but especially when we're live, it happens. Okay, so the way it works, Cherry, is you got to give feedback or I boot you. Because you can't just say, oh, that resonates. You got to tell us why. Okay, yeah, Realistic saying you study Tantra as well. That's great. Okay, so we're doing Cherry Berry's chart for anyone jumping on. You guys can also book this for yourself. You can book a video of me doing your chart on your relationship needs. Okay, here we go. Okay, yes, this is fun. All right. Here we are for Cherry's chart, and then we'll just jump right in. Libra Rising, you're definitely going to have a stronger need for relationships. And with that Aquarius on that house, this brings in that energy of liking people who are different from you. And also, Uranus can work like an on-off switch in love, and you have Uranus close to your descendant. Now, this can be like a sudden marriage or divorce when that is activated. So if like something hit that Uranus and Capricorn, perhaps, let's see, maybe when Pluto hit that. Let's look. I want to see. Now, this could have been a transformation to your home, not relationship related. That would have been in around, that's not quite it. Yeah, something going on here, December of 2020 for you. Something pretty serious. You don't have to tell us if it's something bad. Okay, back to what I was even doing. Uranus being your ruler of your fifth house of dating. You could find that you meet people quickly and easily, where it's like, hello, we're dating, goodbye, that kind of thing, where it just comes on strong like a light switch. You also have Uranus in a quincunx to Mars. So luckily it's not super strong, but this really, really emphasizes that on-off switch in relationships, where it's like they'll come on strong suddenly out of nowhere. Bam, you meet someone at work who's like hitting on you. And you're like, okay, hi, and you might not like that. Especially Aries being that seventh house ruler and those having that quincunx, where it's like you might need some excitement. The Mars Uranus in a natal chart is like an emergency responder. You might really, really need like passion, excitement, danger, adventure. You might be attracted to partners who are like ride motorcycles and do stunts and stuff. Let us know if this is resonating, Cherry. I'm using Placidus. Yeah, okay, yep, Brandon. Yeah, you want to be the best. Okay, so I'm waiting for Cherry to respond. I'll just keep going, but let us know if you feel like there's like a desire for your love life to be more intense or to be more dangerous, or to be more like passionate, or you like firefighters, or, if anything like that resonates. So it could be that you have that need. It can also be that the partner has those qualities. All right, so then we're going to just look at your Mars and Leo. Mars and Leo kind of needs to show off a little bit. They need their partner to pay attention to them. Mars and Leo, you want to get in their heart. You got to give them compliments. Mars and Leo is going to be the one who like is dancing for their partner in the bedroom usually. Now this squares over to Pluto. Mars square Pluto can be a pretty this can actually cause you to bury your sexuality, to be buried a little bit, because Pluto buries and Mars represents our sex drive. So if you feel like you are more reserved, or you feel like you are more like you don't have a lot of partners, Pluto blocks. That doesn't mean you can't unblock it, but that sometimes it might take time or a certain activation. You may find that with that Mars Uranus, someone has to do the exact right thing to get you to want to be with them. Let us know if that makes sense. Yep, can't be bored. Yes. Okay, so then what else? Venus in Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio has like the stereotype of liking to be tied up. Sorry. Sorry, Terry, I'm not trying to call you out, but there's a depth to the sexual experience here. And, with Scorpio, with anything in Scorpio, this brings that need when you have like a long-term relationship to have that ride or die, I'd rather go through hell with you. Sometimes it can bring a depth sexually where like you want someone to take you further than you've ever been and keep transforming and keep sort of going to deeper levels or layers. And that being in Scorpio can make you more attracted to people who either have that like bad boy personality or like yeah, yep, trust issues as well. Like someone who is scorpionic, right? Which is going to be someone who's more mysterious and doesn't reveal everything about themselves. Um, yeah, Cherry says, I need a lot of depth, and so far, no one I've been with has had it. Yeah, so that's one of the challenges for Scorpio placements, is to have that. And then Saturn, for some reason, that Saturn in Pisces, that's going to block you a little bit here with relationships as well. So, with Saturn here, it's almost like it might be harder to just find the right people to flirt with. Saturn in Pisces has trust issues. So, trust issues in the fifth house of relationships and dating. If you can get past that dating phase to the relationship phase, I think that's going to solve a lot of that for you. Once you get that person who you can trust, who has that like kind of explosive, sudden like passion suddenly turns on in the moment and just like surprises you, that feels like it's going to fit. As far as some of these challenges, I would say, the Mars Pluto one is the one that I feel like that's going to make you the shyest. And look at all this. Okay, look at all this second house stuff. This will make you, especially even just Pluto by itself here, Pluto in the second, people sometimes have a fear of intimacy. And sometimes it can be so strong, they don't even want to have sex with anyone else because of, it's almost like Pluto in the second would rather have sex with a stranger than someone they know. Because that fear of intimacy and those challenges of like you feel naked, like you feel naked when you're naked, but like you feel exposed and vulnerable when you're having sex with someone you know. And it doesn't, like, even someone who has a high sex drive could still feel this way, where there's that fear and their discomfort, that fear and that discomfort around like merging with someone all the way and trusting them all the way. So in your chart, you have this deep need for that merging with other people, but also this sort of built in challenge with, but I want to be safe in my own little space and my own little comfort zone. So that is something that, can be worked through. And the way to work through that is simply, I make it sound so easy. It's hard, actually. It's really hard. But the way through, because Pluto is here in that second house, is to focus on that polarity point, which really is getting into those intimate relationships with people. I think having Lilith here probably makes it a little bit more of a challenge because there's that potential that someone's going to see that sexual side of you and hate you for it and judge you for it and criticize you for it, especially if you are using your voice and speaking words, like putting words to it. This can be situations where you could like talk when you're a teenager about how you had sex with someone and then everyone judges you and hates you and calls you a slut or something. That's just one example, but this kind of energy where you're just doing it the way everyone else does and you're not doing anything wrong. People are going to see that as more wrong if you're doing it. See? Oh, isn't that so funny? Yeah, okay. And so this is that challenge, that second house challenge where you have Mercury, Jupiter, Pluto, and the Sun all in the second house saying, I want to stay in my own little world and I don't want to change and I don't want to have to put my head up and see that there are other people around me. Another thing about this not related to love is that if you get stuck money-wise, it's this damn Pluto. This Pluto will stop you from making money, a lot of money, until you learn how to merge with people. So if you're like, what can I do to transform on a deeper level? I would say that eighth house. Now, this is not easy. It's like you have lifetimes of that second house energy of self-sufficiency. And there's so much fear of being vulnerable, especially with, where's your south node? Okay, at least your South Node is in Taurus, not Scorpio. This is good. This is good. Um, it wouldn't be horrible if it's Scorpio, but um, North Node in Scorpio means it's right for you to take those risks. And there is going to be a balance for you in your life between that self-sufficiency and that other-oriented stuff. So it's almost like you need to have your own goals and not change them for a relationship. But once you're in the relationship, there's a need to like really go all the way with people. So, I mean, that's just kind of what you need to work on your whole life there in about 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Really, I mean, that was a lot, Sherry. We went really deep with you. So, don't be discouraged if that's a lot to handle. Just know that when it comes to like Pluto, which we talked about, when it comes to having stelliums like that, that is going to be, those are really, really hard, lifelong soul lessons that we have to work through. So we are going to stop there. For anyone just jumping on, in the beginning of this video, we went through the different placements in the chart for love and what to look for each placement. We talked a little bit about the 5th house and the 7th house, and I gave an example chart. Thank you, Cherry, for being an example. Thank you to everyone who were volunteers today. And you guys keep in mind, I have an aligned or an ideal love profile video. It's a 10-minute video. It tells you all about your own personal love information, what your ideal partner is based on your astrology. We can see so much in the chart. We can see, what you need in dating, what you need based on your stelliums, what you need based on your sun, moon, and rising, your rising sign in general, what it needs, the 7th house, what it needs. It's all right there in the chart. It tells us who is the right person for you. And, it also tells us what your own hangups are that you can work through so you can manifest that partner, right? So you can be the person you need to be to attract that partner. And if you're doing something that's pushing love away or causing challenges in relationships, being able to highlight what that is so you can really see it and work through it and move past it. So click the link in the description if you would like to book one of those with me. I highly recommend them. They're pre-recorded videos done by me for you on your exact natal chart, and they're a pretty good deal. So I highly recommend that. Moshi, yeah, okay, you can totally watch the whole video. I didn't talk in the video about Scorpio South Node, and that's not always, I mean, with that South Node, there's challenges to merging with people and independence, is what I will say. And you guys, don't feel bad if you have tough placements. Everyone has tough placements. Everyone has something. So please don't leave this video feeling like, man, forget it. I have so much to work on. Because the thing about astrology is when you know what you have to work on, it makes it easier because you can focus on those things instead of going, man, why do I always get broken up with? Or like, why do I always sabotage my relationships? Or, right? Like, why do I always attract people who are so mean to me? Or whatever the thing is, that whatever that cycle is, we can see in your chart what's causing the cycle, and you can break the cycle. Okay. Whatever the cycle is, you can break it. So that is what I have for this video. And I hope you guys have an amazing day, and make sure you subscribe because I have the rising signs, your love needs based on your rising sign. Those videos are going to come out. So make sure you subscribe and have your notifications on so you get notified when those come out. For those of you who want to do more readings, more of the $35 readings, we're doing that on Friday. So this Friday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, there is a video up on the channel. You can click the set reminder button. As of right now, that video is already scheduled. And I also started a Telegram group. This is a chat group where I chat you guys when I'm live. So if any of you got on here late, you didn't make it, if you were in my Telegram group, you would have gotten a message. So feel free to join that. That is all in the description. As always, thank you all so much for all the likes, the comments, the love you send my way, the shares, everything you do to support this channel. It is so appreciated. And I will see